Batman, the 1989 film from Tim Burton, is a seminal movie from my childhood. One of the first movies I ever remember seeing, actually, and definitely my first introduction to the character of Batman. So that kind of shaped the way that I felt Batman should be, I guess. There's always going to be kind of a nostalgia that I'll have for it. I'll always kind of like a bias in that sense. The nostalgia goggles. There's always going to be that. But I do think it is a movie that holds up consistently throughout viewings over the years. I mean, I've watched it countless times over my life. I mean, literally, you know, hundreds of times. I'm sure I've seen this movie. It's always something that I can sit down and enjoy and find new things to like about it. And it has held up, when it was still a contemporary film against, say, the Schumacher movies that came after it, and it still held up when Nolan kind of took the Batman film series in a different direction, making it a little more sort of realistic, sort of more gritty kind of version of Batman, and it holds up today against the more modern Batman stuff. So I mean, it has its place. I think. I mean, this is prime Tim Burton when this peak of his career, sort of the most exciting, I think, era of his filmography, and it is something that I personally, again, having watched it so many times, that I can always find new things to like and enjoy about it, even when looking at it at its own context. Like this was sort of revolutionary in a way that it gave Batman that darker tone, more in line with the comics at the time, in the 80s, than everyone's kind of perceived notion of Batman, which was the campy 1960s Adam West Batman, which is good in its own right, but this was something that was trying to go for something different, and I think it has achieved that quite successfully, quite successfully. And in addition to kind of moving in a different direction than that tone that people kind of associated with Batman, I guess in being a bigger superhero movie, a big tentpole, big budget Hollywood action superhero movie thing, it also kind of had to separate itself from the Superman film, the Richard Donner film, which came out a decade prior to that, where that even kind of was more of like a family friendly kind of thing. But this is, kind of more an edgier kind of movie, more surreal kind of dark tone to it. I guess, the best way I can put it. And of course, I mean, Tim Burton was perfect for that at the time. And kind of what I like about it, in watching it again and being now currently, as familiar as the next person, I guess, with Batman. Um, Another thing it did quite differently that was a nice touch, from the Superman film, was that this film, Batman 1989, it wasn't an origin story like the Superman film, where it kind of goes for this definitive storytelling of how this superhero came to be, right? So, the Richard Donner film, I mean, it goes for a fair 30 to 40 minutes before we even see Superman in his tights, right? So what's interesting about this movie is that, Batman, he's already existing. He's already in the cape and cowl by the time, by the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is kind of cool, and kind of what it does in playing with certain expectations that maybe people more familiar with Batman and his general story, is that, I mean, it opens with Gotham City, and we see this mother, father, son. They're in Gotham and leaving the Monarch Theater. So, kind of your first instinct is to think, okay, so this is going to show the origin of Bruce Wayne and his parents getting killed. That's what we all know. They get shot in an alley, and he grows up to be Batman. Well, no, it's a completely unrelated crime, but something that I suppose happens quite a bit in Gotham City. In this case, the parents aren't killed, but the father's knocked out, the mother's left screaming, and Batman, observing from the rooftops, he takes vengeance on these villains. He avenges this terrible crime rather than, I guess, preventing it. And nobody's perfect. And then we get right into the Batman action, and of course, the famous line where he's grabbing the guy close to him over the ledge. It's like, "Who are you?" "I'm Batman." It's perfect. It's great, and of course, Michael Keaton, so great in the role, and that's kind of another thing that everybody always kind of mentions about this movie is that there was doubt about Michael Keaton being more of a comedic actor. There was Mr. Mom is Batman. How's that going to work? Things like that. But I think in casting an actor that may have been known for comedy and have certain comedic instincts, I think it helped all the more in creating this character, this dual personality of both the straight man and the jester, I guess, of Batman, of this dual personality, this haunted soul, where he is in Keaton's performance. I mean, he is kind of this unassuming, regular kind of looking guy, even as the billionaire or millionaire Bruce Wayne. He is kind of unassuming, and when he's the Batman character, he does kind of take on this completely different persona, which I think works quite well. And I think, I don't know, just there's something about comedic actors when they go for these kinds of roles. I think there is a darkness within all these funny people. I think so. I think he taps into that really well. I think he's a great Batman. I mean, he's the Batman of my generation. He's always going to be the sentimental favorite Batman. So I mean, I have nothing but love for Michael Keaton. He's terrific in the role. When you think about Michael Keaton and some of his previous roles, like, well, there was Mr. Mom and Night Shift, stuff like that, where like he was almost kind of this Tom Hanks type, sort of, these zany comedies, but also in 1989 there was a really solid dramatic turn in the film Clean and Sober, which was a great performance, which I don't know if it came out either just before Batman or just after, but I think the story is one of the producers of Batman had seen like an early screening of Clean and Sober and kind of made that decision then, like, okay, maybe this guy is good for the role. Maybe he can play this darker kind of character, this tortured soul. Of course, with Clean and Sober being a drug addict who has to turn his life around and all that. But even if you look at Keaton's previous collaboration with Tim Burton in Beetlejuice, where he's completely unhinged, playing this manic, crazy character. You can look at Michael Keaton and his consideration for the role in Batman. He could just have easily have played the Joker as he plays Batman, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, like, because I mean, Batman himself, I mean, he could easily just be the Joker himself. I mean, what's the famous line from the Killing Joke? All it takes is one bad day. So the fact that he had those kind of acting chops, I think, really helped the dimension of the character, and I do applaud that they I don't know, sort of took a risk on him, which I think really paid off, and he plays, the Bruce Wayne Batman character perfectly. I think a lot of people would say that he was upstaged by Jack Nicholson as the Joker in the film, which, I mean, it's hard to argue against, because, I mean, this is a scene stealing character. This is, I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, it is Jack Nicholson's movie. I mean, for one thing, he's billed before Michael Keaton, even though Michael Keaton's the title character. I guess kind of same deal as like Brando and Superman, actually. So it's, he's the first name you see. It was one of his most, if not his most successful films as an actor. Not just in terms of popularity, kind of cultural relevance, but I mean, this was a huge payday for him. Everyone kind of knows about the deal he struck with getting, a certain percentage of the budget. Meanwhile, going into making the movie, the studio wasn't confident that would be the huge hit that it was. And meanwhile, it was the biggest movie of all time at the time. So I mean, Jack Nicholson really cashed in on that. And it's such a perfect casting, him as the Joker. I mean, obviously Jack Nicholson, he's one of, if not the greatest actors ever. And he does have a very, I don't know, kind of Joker look to him. He's very mischievous in that grin of his, the patented Jack Nicholson grin and laugh and eyebrows and all that kind of stuff. So it was a match made in casting heaven, and he is so funny as the character, and so endearing, I think. I mean, he does really steal every scene he's in when he gets to playing the Joker. I think he described it as a homicidal Bugs Bunny, which I think is a pretty apt description of the character. And yeah, he's what can I say? He's one of the best superhero villains still to this day. I mean, he's kind of the template. He's what everyone would want to aspire to be, even in some of the modern renditions of the Joker. Like, I mean, obviously Heath Ledger has been great. Joaquin Phoenix, he played the character in a completely different way, and he won an Academy Award for it. But still, there's always just something about Jack Nicholson, who's such a pure kind of Joker. So seeing this movie, I mean, Batman versus the Joker, that's kind of the whole angle of it. I think in focusing on that, I don't think that an origin story would have worked, at least not in this movie, at least not within the its kind of way of presenting itself, I guess. Um, the plot itself, I mean, it's a fairly basic plot. We have the world of Gotham City established here. That's it's getting ready, anticipating its centennial celebration. Politicians want to make a big deal of it because spirits are low in Gotham. Crime is at an all-time high. The hired officials, the police force, can't really do anything about it. Basically, the criminals, the mob, they run the town. What is Joker or Jack Napier, his pre-Joker persona, say? Decent, kind-hearted people shouldn't live here. They'd be much happier someplace else. So I mean, it's gone to the dogs basically. Police can't do anything. Police, is kind of established, represented by the Eckhart character. They're on the take. They're corrupt or inept or all of the above. So of course we need Batman to step in and kind of make things right. So that's where we kind of see it. And we see the whole mob underworld and how it kind of works, and how there is, shady deals going on with the Axis chemical plant, and they have to kind of clear the place out. And it's Jack Napier's boss, Grissom, played by Jack Palance, really great in his role. He's in his own little world as the Grissom character. He's really great. Um, he's kind of ordering things around, but there's something else going on. Jack is he's fooling around with the big boss's lady, and you can't do that. So it's all this thing about betrayal. So the cops get involved with an attempt to clear out some incriminating documents in the Axis plant. So there's a standoff between the mobsters and the cops, and then who happens to be in the middle of it all? Batman, of course. And in this set piece, this action scene in the chemical plant, Batman inadvertently creates the Joker by dropping Jack Napier into this vat of chemicals, basically. Take the bath, right? The happy bath. So he comes out as the Joker, which I guess there's poetic, dramatic license in that Batman inadvertently creates the Joker, whereas we would learn in the last act of the film that the Joker, Jack Napier, inadvertently created Batman because he's revealed to be the murderer of Bruce Wayne's parents, which I know this is something that comic book fans, Batman fans, they take a big issue with. They say it's a big no, this shouldn't have been. I can't really argue too passionately against that mindset. I mean, that is comic book inaccurate, but I mean, it works fine enough for the movie. Gives it just like a little teeny tiny extra push in making this rivalry between the two just a little bit more personal, because maybe it needed that, since I mean, what a lot of it really amounts to, once the Joker is creative, once we get into the bulk of the movie with the Joker and his kind of evil plan to sort of just kind of cause chaos in Gotham, and he poisons the hygiene products and all that. I mean, really what it amounts to is that he sees Batman's getting a lot of press, and that makes him jealous, and he wants to one up Batman and get his face in the paper, his face on the $1 bill, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it needed just a little bit more to make it an appropriate, satisfying rivalry between the two, I guess. I mean, who knows what was in their mind. If you watch like the bonus material, nobody like really, like in the documentaries and stuff, nobody really owns up to it. I think literally, like, they show an interview with Sam Hamm, who throws his hands up and says, I'm innocent, it wasn't me." So I don't know, but it's fine. So I mean, whatever. And of course there's also Alfred letting Vicky Vale into the Batcave, which was a big no-no. But again, I think for this movie as is, it works fine. Whatever, it's fine. I mean, Alfred is this kind of fatherly character who looks after Bruce, and this was his extra little nudge because throughout the movie he's kind of letting him know that this Vicky Vale, I think she's very special. I think maybe let her into your life a little bit. So I mean, it doesn't come completely out of nowhere, but I guess still letting her into the Batcave, big no. I guess. By the way, Michael Goff, a great Alfred. He was in all four of the original movies playing the character, and I think he does a great job, particularly in the first two Tim Burton ones. I think he's really, really charming, and he plays that kind of fatherly, wise role very well. You get a complete sense of the two characters and their kind of relationship, just like literally within the first few moments that they're on screen. You see Bruce Wayne kind of walking around his own party like a stranger, and Alfred's kind of cleaning up after him. He leaves a glass here and there, and so it's really well done. I like the relationship between the two, and I think it has a fair enough romantic subplot with Vicky Vale and Bruce Wayne and Batman and Knox and the Joker. So I mean, I guess a love square. Um, but I think the relationship is pretty okay. I mean, it's not like Superman or Spider-Man actually, where there is this kind of established love interest that everybody really knows about that can always kind of commonly associate with the character, like Lois Lane or with Superman or Mary Jane Watson with Spider-Man. I mean, aside from maybe Catwoman, I guess you could argue, but she's a bad guy, and their kind of whole deal is like the star-crossed lovers kind of thing. So here they do take a character from the comics. I mean, I'm not a huge expert on Batman, so I can't really say when she was first established, but I'd say there's a good bet that at least at the time of this film, she was more a modern addition. Wasn't really there from from like the very beginning, like say like like Lois Lane may have been. I'm not a Superman expert either, but I think they made a good choice in making the photojournalist the romantic interest, and of course Kim Basinger, one of the most beautiful women of that era. Uh, I think she was a great choice, and I mean it's not bad. It's not a bad love story. I mean it's better than you could give any kind of James Bond movie credit for. I guess. I mean there's always the beautiful woman who helps Bond, and it's like kind of this shallow kind of relationship. She was a Bond girl, by the way, an unofficial Bond girl. So I mean she she got to I don't know, trade up and be in a Batman film. So it's a little bit better. I mean, we see them just in as the two normal people without any kind of danger or conflict around them. At first, the two meet at Bruce Wayne's party, his fundraiser, and they agree to go out on a date, and they do kind of bond. I think it takes enough time to show this whole section of the film that really isn't focused on action or anything like that. It's just the two getting to know each other, so it's nice. And you know uh, they share a night together, but then the magic kind of wears off with Bruce, where he's like, oh shit, I forgot I'm Batman, so I can't really have this. So all that is kind of her oblivious at first, but then Alfred lets her in, and afterwards, thematically, Bruce lets her in. I mean, she literally says, "Why won't you let me in? That wasn't just another night, was it?" So I mean, it's a little cheesy. It's fine, but I don't know. It works. It's fine. Um, it is, I don't know, a little bit forced that the Joker has kind of a thing for her too. Like he's literally just looking through some uh, photographs that I guess Bob the Goon was taking, and he just instantly falls in love with her. So then, boom, we have further forced conflict between the two, Batman and Bruce Wayne, and stuff like that. Um, that's fine too, I guess. I mean, it does lead to a really great scene um, at the apartment, at Vicky Vale's apartment, where it's not Joker versus it's not Joker versus Batman. It's Joker versus Bruce Wayne. The whole "let's get nuts" kind of speech. I thought that was a really great scene, and I think in kind of forcing this villain falls in love with the hero's love interest kind of thing. It works, and of course it leads to the ending where they're in the belfry of a tower, a bat in the belfry. So there's this, psychological angle you can take from it, where all these three are finally put together, and they have to resolve this insane conflict between very strange and damaged and over the top individuals with outrageous outfits, and the woman they love, and only one of these guys is going to come out a winner with the girl. So I mean, there's that to it. So I don't know. It's I wouldn't say the movie is high art or anything like that, though it does have a superb style to it. I mean, this is fantastic uh, visually and atmospherically. Such an incredible art direction and set direction, which it won an Academy Award for, rightly so. Music is fantastic. Danny Elfman. I mean, this is one of the most recognized, aside from Superman, one of the most recognizable superhero themes ever. You know, the Batman theme. Everybody knows it. It's great. It's great. So there's that. I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, aesthetically, superficially kind of great things about it. Uh, when you do kind of compare it to those Nolan films, which use the same characters in completely different ways, they go a little bit deeper into the characters and I don't know, take a more mature angle to it, and I really appreciate those. I really do. But you know, there is something just irresistible about this movie. Something undeniably charming about it that it does make me want to keep going back to it. I mean, it's a very impressive movie. It was, some good action scenes and great set and art decoration, like I mentioned, and good visual effects as well. I mean, not all of them are perfect. Like, they don't stand up perfectly today. Like, you look at some of the, you know, like the miniature works, which I don't know, they look a little outdated. They look a little obvious. Like the one part where uh, Batman and his flying Batwing when he crashes, and you can like really tell these are a bunch of toy cars that they just lit on fire and stuff like that. Or even like the helicopter, it looks like like a remote control toy helicopter or something like that. So it doesn't hold up perfectly. Um, there's that. But I mean, it's kind of small potatoes, and an otherwise very impressive film that still stands up today. And I guess, I mean, in all fairness, as much as I like the performances that we get in the movie, as much as I like Keaton as the main character, I would say this is Nicholson's movie. It really is. I mean, the Joker's the highlight. He truly is something to behold in this movie. I mean, there's always, I don't know, there's always things that make me laugh, and for different reasons. Like when I was watching it most recently, I watched it just a few days ago to get it fresh in my mind to do a review. I don't know, the line at the very end when Batman tells him that he created him, and he says, "You idiots! You dropped me in that vat of goo. You didn't think I was gonna get over it that easy, did you? And don't think that I didn't try." I don't know. I thought that was very funny. Don't think that I didn't try. And then spitting out the chattering teeth. Then putting on the glasses. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? I don't know. Just so desperate in this obviously mismatched brawl when it all comes down to it. Without his thugs around him, I mean, he's not really a physical match for Batman, is he? So I don't know. There's something very funny about that when the Joker's in a corner and finds that he's been had. Is very very amusing to me. So he's great, and that's a one in a million grin that Jack has. They didn't need. There was no need for prosthetics, but they went with it anyway, just to bring it home all the more, I guess. Um, but truly one of the great superhero villains, or just villains in general in film. I mean, I have a high affection. I give very 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 high praise to Jack Nicholson's performance in this film. Just about unbeatable, except by maybe Heath Ledger, I guess, because he was a great Joker as well. I mean, at the end of the day, when you compare this movie to the Nolan movies, I mean, they're two different worlds, but the same character. You know, different takes, and still, I mean, you definitely owe a lot to this film in laying the groundwork and kind of setting the path for people to take these kinds of movies more seriously. Because I think there was a lot at stake in making the film, in having that reputation of being cheesy and campy, from the '60s show. So I think it defied a lot of odds, and I think, of course, I mean, great performances and Jack behind it as well. A lot is owed to Tim Burton and his vision of the character, and whether or not it's completely faithful, or Batman, I'm sure he kills a lot of people. He blows up like a whole factory full of people in the movie, I think. Throws guys off the roof and things like that. Vicky Vale in the Batcave, Jack Nicholson being the Joker, as Batman's parents' killer, and that, I mean, it's forgivable in the grander scheme of things, and what it was able to do for the character, and how it was able to change the public perception of Batman. And at least in my case, being a child after the movie came out, or while the movie came out, being a child seeing the movie for the first time, while it was still a new movie basically, I'm fortunate enough to have this as my introduction to the character, which I'm grateful for. Though I really enjoy the '60s show. I think it's pretty awesome, actually. Adam West is a legend, and I love the animated series, the Kevin Conroy, and the sequel, and the Schumacher films have their place too, and the Nolan films, and Ben Affleck, he's all right. Yeah, but this is always kind of gonna be the one that, I don't know, has stayed with me the longest, and has been the most important to me. So definitely this is a positive review of the movie, of course, and I'll never fully be able to shake that nostalgia, and that's okay, because a lot of people have nostalgia for Batman, because Batman is, he's cool for kids. I mean, kids enjoy Batman. What can I say? And I'm glad that Keaton was my generation's Batman, so he's Batman. That's the review. Thanks very much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you again later.